One disgusting person. And you don't encourage him. I know we're on TV. This guy is disgusting.
I just said I'm having a colonoscopy in a month. Big deal.
Because you wanted to, not because you needed to. Paging Dr. Coverup. Republican James Comer just fired off his first subpoena at former White House physician, Dr. Kevin O'Connor. They want him to turn his head and cough up what he knows in a sworn deposition on June 27th. Just 2 weeks before Greg's colonoscopy. Yes. You may recall this is the same doc who said Joe Biden was one sandbag fall away from being put in a wheelchair. And now Trump's chiming in. Not about Biden's balance, but his signature.
The biggest scandal of the last many years is the autopen. And who's using it? I happen to think I know, okay, because I'm here. And I'm not a big autopen person, fortunately. I'm glad. I'm very glad. It's an easy way out. But it's a very bad thing, very dangerous. Essentially, whoever used the autopen was the president. And that is wrong, it's illegal, it's so bad, and it's so disrespectful to our country.
Meanwhile, Bill Clinton hit the jackpot, showing up on The View and surrounded by more women than his legal team usually allows. Bubba went on to blame Biden's staff for the debate flop.
Look at that debate, for example. Mm-hmm. What happened in the 10 days before his debate? And what were the White House staff thinking? He went to Europe and back twice, and then he went to California once. Yeah. And he was 80 years old. What the heck is he doing that for?
And sick.
What do you think Bill and the ladies did after the show?
I don't think we can discuss this on a family show, Jesse. I think that it was. I think it was lurid. I think it was racy. I think they probably all had to leave their burner phones in a yonder bag, and
Yonder bag.
you know they're doing it because they feel like they're patriots. He's just a perp.
So the doctor is going to get a subpoena.
Yeah.
And what comes next?
Well, he's going to invoke doctor-patient privilege and say that these are protected discussions. But at some point, do you remember the way that Ronnie Jackson was peppered at that famous press conference about Trump's health, and people were screaming at him like, is he on antipsychotic medication? Does he have a coronary aneurysm? Like, what's going on here? It has to be something. He's insane. And Kevin O'Connor was never held to the same level of scrutiny. And why? I mean, I think we should have a uniform way that we press White House physicians, because no matter who holds the office, we deserve to know what's wrong with them.
Wasn't it strange that you have the oldest president ever, Jessica, and the doctor never gave a press conference?
I guess so. I'm all for transparency on this. Obviously, the damage was done from it. The American public said there's absolutely no way we're going to be voting for him. So then we had a different candidate, and she still didn't end up winning. And the majority of Americans think he was much too old to do this. And we should hear from this doctor. I like the idea of having a policy that there have to be, twice annual press conferences from the White House physician and tell us what's going on there, and any specialists. I think that everyone should sign on to that, including President Trump. But you must be upset that Comer is in charge of another investigation, because he's batting zero, right? He promised a Biden impeachment and has delivered absolutely nothing over the years.
Well, and say we got a knockout blow at the debate. I'd take that also.
That's
saved a lot of time.
Comer.
No, but it doesn't matter.
The
same thing happened. Joe was out. What do you think about the autopen? Donald Trump calls it the most salacious scandal in the history of the country.
Well, I think that's bottom line what the American public is most concerned about. If they were not privy to the decline of President Biden, obviously, who was behind the autopen. But Jessica, you say you're all for the transparency. It's O'Connor, the doctor, who's saying he's refusing to do it. He was asked to volunteer to come in and testify. He said it violates D.C. code, violates the American Medical Association Code of Ethics, violates patient's privilege. So Comer's making the point this is critical to the committee's investigation. I think the American public, based on what we've seen now, and this isn't about him ending up in a wheelchair, because apparently staff was concerned that if he was reelected, he would, because of his physical health, ended up in a wheelchair. This obviously about the mental decline. This is a doctor who said that he's been overseeing Biden's health since 2009, claimed that I've never had a better commander than Joe Biden. He all along the way was assuring the American public that this was a healthy, capable man, all the way up into his run for a second term in office. So this is a person who should provide that transparency to the American public. based on what we have seen in the decline of Joe Biden.
Now let's go to the most transparent person on the set.
You know what's interesting about The View? It's the only show Hillary lets Bill do because he knows even he won't bang that crew. To me, you all right there?
Yeah.
I did that for you. Isn't it? I mean, like, I judge people by the appearance of their doctor. He doesn't even look healthy.
No.
He looks really,
look like
really
a doctor.
He
bad.
hasn't for a while.
Yeah, they should actually talk to Joe's coroner, not his doctor. Clearly, I mean, do we still have proof of life? Do we even know that's Joe Biden? Little conspiracy there because it's Friday. When you look at the state of the world, whether it's the Middle East, Ukraine, and I'll include Mexico, their drug trade, China with fentanyl, this isn't just about a feeble old man. This is about a group of people who covered up the feeble old man, you know, so they could maintain power, and the country went to hell. This makes Watergate look like a jaywalking. So I think, you know, they had a show trial for January 6th, produced by an ABC producer for one day. That blew up in their face. This is not going to be a political stunt. We need to get the attention on what happened because people died because of this cover-up. And just looking at the damage by the border, a crumbling border because of a crumbling president, cause and effect.
All right. Amen.
Amen
The
to
fastest is up next.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.